Hello, lovely people. It's Jo from Jo Weedon, Melbourne, on this Friday night. How are you all? I hope you're well and things are good for you this week. Just going to refresh my page and then we can get into the fun. I am just loading my camera and then it should be happening. So I thought I'd show you today some embossing techniques. I've had a friend contact me today to ask about various ways that we can do it. So I thought I'll show you a couple and we might be able to discover some things along the way as well, possibly. So as you can see here, I have this card that's made with the Country Floral embossing folder, and I won't move that around too much because I know it gets a bit glary with the light, but that's okay. So this is the card, one of the cards that I've made using the simple idea of embossing straight through the big shot, and then I actually did it all separately, whereas I could have run it all through first, cut all the individual bits out, put it together, which is what I ended up doing. So let's get started. I'll move all these out so there's no glare for you. And I'll just check that the camera's working the right way. Look at those. And we'll get this back. So the idea with this card is I've run it through the embossing folder directly, just as you would ordinarily with anything else. But the way that I've stepped it up differently on another card is I've used this, but I've inked the embossing folder. Have you seen that? So I apologise for a little bit of noise that's happening in the background. Husband and daughter are deciding to have a big conversation. Hey Sarah, how you going? So what I'm going to do is get my ink. So I'm using Balmy Blue at the moment. And what you can decide to do is either ink up the raised part or ink up the indented part of your embossing folder. Purely up to what you decide to do. So I think from what I've seen, and I'll show the others as they happen, the ones that I liked was the raised bits here. So this will work really well actually showing you on the white embossed on the white background, because when I stamp the ink on, you'll be able to see predominantly just the raised pieces, see? The raised detail, I mean. Now you can do a little bit more if you want, because you can see some of these flowers here don't always have a huge amount of ink on it. But the risk you take is that it will go on the background. So just be aware to just take it carefully. The other thing is too, remember the top of your embossing folder, because you don't want to miss out on ink on the top here. So you want to make sure that you take the ink right to the top of your embossing folder, and also be aware that your ink pad doesn't go to the very edge of your closed case. So you've actually sort of almost got to overlap onto the other side so that it makes contact where it needs to be. Okay, so that's what you do there. Just close that so I don't end up with my arm in it. Now my cardstock I've got here is 10 by 14 centimetres. G'day, there's some other people joining us. Hey, how you going? So 10 by 14 centimetres is what I've done, because I realised I don't put these markings down, these measurements anywhere for you, so I thought I'll do it that way. And then all you do is lay this down onto the ink and just try not to smudge it, like to move it around. Hold that in place and bring over your cutting machine, embossing machine, whatever it is that you might use. And this will have one plate, because it's a 3D folder, you'll have both of the layers open and using only one plate here. Okay. Now, I generally run it through twice, but sometimes you can do it a bit more. I can actually feel, I used a different machine when I first made the other cards and it was quite tight, whereas this one's actually quite loose. So I run that through and you can have a bit of a sneak peek. Let's just move that out of the way. You can have a bit of a sneak peek and you can see that that's actually embossed quite well. There's really a lot of detail there. So Alison's watching on the way home from cricket. So here you go, have a look at that. So you can see, remember how I said you don't want to push too hard because then you will end up with ink on the background here, which is okay. It's still part of the technique. It just depends on how much detail you want to get. Okay, so that's how I got that. Now in order, let me show you here. So there's the dirty side, and that's obviously, whoops, let me turn this the right way. That obviously is like that. Now, if you want all of this background area to be indented and the flower to be up, you would put the ink on this side. And I'll show you how that is, how that presents. So let me find... Actually, I won't. I'll show you how I put it all together then. And then I'll show you the different options. So once I did that with the Country Floral Embossing folder, I ran this through the Big Shot. So I laid that down on my plates. I lined it up properly, obviously. And I ran that through my Big Shot. And we end up with, only because I don't want to be dragging the Big Shot backwards and forwards and the noise and everything else. And I remove the centerpiece. So I end up with this. So let me find, oh, I've lost it. Where is it? Here. So there you go. It's actually the opposite of what I've just done. So that essentially is the flip side of what I've just done. So the ink is impressed down and the ink is on this. It's the opposite. So then it's as simple as finding a card base. Here we go. And adhering this to my card base. Now you can decide to go with this outer layer, can be raised on dimensionals, or it can be not like I'm doing. It could be laying flat on the cardstock. So I put that in the center of my card. Front, obviously. Stick it down. And then I use those two, the two shapes of the stitched rectangles that I had before, like this. And I used it on a piece of, I was going to say Marina Mist, but that's an old one, on a piece of Balmy Blue, which was 8.5 centimetres by 11.5 centimetres, and that's what gave me this internal piece. And I've decided to raise the internal piece. So that then just gets placed down on there. Like that. Oh, it's a little bit crooked. I wonder if I'll be able to save it. You do need to be aware that when you put these frames down, the cardstock down like this, you do need to watch how it sort of distorts, because obviously that can affect your whole presentation, especially when you put in this third piece, I found. And I've seen some demos who work from the middle out, but I don't trust my judgment in getting this perfectly in the middle. So when we lay this down, it's essentially like doing a puzzle. But the difference is, I find, is, let me show you here. See here where this bit just seems to pop up? All you need to do is just place a craft knife or something into it, just so that you end up with all of the blue being the point that's raised. Because obviously it just changes the effect if the white card base is raised as well, and it just sort of distorts the layers of your work. Just be aware of that. So I have got these two. So there's those two. I haven't done a sentiment for this one because I've actually got 3 birthdays, 3 sympathies, and a couple of other cards to send out, and I think I'm going to generally just make a few changes with each of these cards. So let me have a look. Now the other option that you can do, and I'm just trying to find the various cards. Let me take this one away. This one has no inking to the embossing folder, obviously. Looks fantastic. The difference is I've run the middle piece through the embossing folder as well. And so what I needed to do was I actually put the white border into here in the right place where it fits. Let me show you. There. If I had all of my 3 pieces like this as a puzzle, and I simply lined this up so that it sits right within the bedding of the embossing folder like that, and then ran all of that through. So I had white, blue, white, and I ran that through the big shot again. And that's how I got this blue, balmy blue frame within the same pattern as the embossing folder, as the rest of the cardstock, I beg your pardon. So these two are the opposites. You can see that they're almost a mirror image. So one's got the ink on the background and one's got the ink on the flower parts. And you can see here, I haven't actually lined it up perfectly. So there's a slight sort of double shadow, which I think in the scheme of things just gives it a little bit more texture. So it's not too bad. Then, let me show you, I'm going to go same for same so that we're comparing apples, as they say. So this card is the one, remember I said it's got the ink on the background of your, hi Sue, welcome. It's got the ink on the background, so that means it's got the ink on the piece where the flower goes in, it goes down. And after I inked it and ran it all through, I then ran the paper through again with Versamark, and then I was able to emboss it, wet emboss it. So I stepped it up a little bit. You should be able to see there's a bit of a shine to that. And then I've also done it on the sentiment as well. There is a process that I've seen, but I'm not completely happy with it. But what you can do is lay your embossing ink, which is your Versamark, pat that all the way through, and then after that you pat your blue all the way through and you run that through your embossing folder. That can work, although sometimes of course you end up with Versamark on your blue ink, and so it can change the way that your pad works. I just run it through twice separately. So I did the ink first, cleaned it completely, Versamarked, and then ran the inked cardstock through. So that's how I got those. And then the other one, and I haven't put a sentiment on this either actually. The other one is this one. So there's your first one with my sentiment already. And then I've done this, but I've run that through the Versamark as well. So I really love this flower here because it's picked up that embossing folder. I'll just see if I can move the light a little bit. Can someone tell me if they, oh yeah, there you go, shiny, shiny. I really like it. And so now I've just got to do and a sentiment so that it matches here. So what I might do, I can actually show you. I'll show you how I did the Versamark with the ink, seeing it's only a little portion. Let me get the ink. The only thing I need to make sure actually is, because this will be a sympathy card, I'm just going to check here on, let me pop it up, put it up to the light so that I can see if it's not. I always put my frames over the images on the stamp sets so that you can see directly if it's going to work or not. So that's okay, that would work. Actually, any of these would work with this. Oh, there's a bit of a tight squeeze there, but it would work. So with Deeper Sympathy, we'll certainly work on this. So that's a good way to sort of work out, am I going to make that work? So let's find where I've put a block. So remember I said to you about using Versamark with this? So what we can do is, as a safeguard, whenever you're embossing, you use your embossing buddy to take away any static. Now I use that on my stamp as well, just to reduce the chances and to reduce the chances of static, and to increase the finished product, to increase the look of the finished product. So give that a bit of a stamp with the embossing buddy. Tap, tap, tap. Use the embossing buddy on your cardstock to remove any static, as I just said. Oh, I didn't do it right after all my talk. There you go. Do as I say, not as I do, okay? So I'll start that bit again. So I'm going to tap it again, just in case I've handled it too far. Too much, I should say. Okay, I think I just need to breathe. Slow down a little bit and just breathe. So here we go. Put that on your embossing, your Versamark, and then pick up the blue ink and then lay all of that down onto your cardstock. There you go. So that's how that's going to now be an embossing sentiment, embossed sentiment. So let me just close these inks before I put my elbow through them. And I'm going to get in my clear embossing powder. So this is a really good way to increase the uses of your ink. Just with one simple Versamark pad that Stampin' Up sell that you can purchase through my shop through Joe Weedon at, joeweedon.stampinup.net. You can use this ink with any of your inks. So it increases the uses of what you've got at home. All right, give me a bit of noise now. And I'll see if we can see the magic. There we go. See that? You can see, oh, there you go, there's a shiny bit. So we'll run that through the big shot. I've creased the, I've bruised the paper a little bit. I hope that doesn't show. And what I'm going to do at the same time as well is run through a piece of Balmy Blue cardstock, which is actually the inner part of the card. And if I line this up in the middle, then I might be able to use this blue piece as a border for something else. I'll just add it to the collection of those projects that, you know, haven't been used, but I'll use them one day. Here we go. Ah, that wasn't meant to happen. Does anyone else standing up, I mean? I do. I go through stages where I stand up and do things, and then I'll sit down for ages. I've got a couple of girls in my children's class who do. And it doesn't matter, it's just the way that they do. They seem to work better with that overall look at what they're doing by standing up. Okay, there's that bit. G'day, g'day Jackie and Chefko, howdy. Just using the Big Shot to show us a few ways to put a sentiment together and to also show embossing. Chefko, this might be of interest to you because when you watch back the video, it will show you how to do embossing with just one ink pad, a Versamark, and then that will give you any other colour that you want to use, because you can work it in line with the ink colours that you have when you're ready to purchase them. Okay, we'll take these off. So did anyone notice that my beautiful nails have gone? I decided with going to uni now and, you know, the potential working with wheelchairs and beds that go up and down and all that kind of thing, that nails, just fake nails, are just not going to work. I recently broke 3 or 4, you know, just with everyday things. So I thought, nah, not worth this expense and the time and the pain. It really hurts when you break one of those nails and you split the bed of your own nail as well. That was pretty irritating. I'll show you another trick I learnt as well, and not necessarily because I've got no nails, but what you can do if you're having trouble getting this tape up on the back of your dimensionals, just squeeze the middle of it, you sort of bruise it, and then that allows for the end to come up. Okay, so here you go. You can see the sympathy is now embossed as well. So then that means that it's going to match my card. So I don't know if I want to put it there on there. Might move the dimensionals, hey? I didn't anticipate that. So let's put this down here. Jackie's agreeing with my nails, hey? I did love them. I thought they did look great. But once mine have grown back, I'll be okay with it all. I'll be all right. All right, there we go. So these are the same 2 cards. It's just the only difference is that I've embossed this. So, but they give quite a different look, and you can see, I think, the depth of colour. You know, just with that shiny embossing powder that's set on the top, it really changes, just lifts it slightly. So that's stepping it up a little bit. So let me show you all of them. And all of these products are current, so that means should you want to purchase any, you certainly can. But I think they're great. I've got a couple of birthday cards done really quickly and a sympathy card. I think I'll make this one a sympathy card as well, because I need at least 2 of each. And then, as I said, I'll make one for a friend, so it won't necessarily be, you know, beautiful day or anything like that, but it'll just be, hey, I'm here thinking of you type thing. If there's any of these products that you really like, you can purchase through me, as I mentioned before, or your own Stampin' Up demonstrator, Australia-wide. And while you're online, you can see the 3 catalogues that are available right now. There is the annual catalogue. Let me reach out for the other one. The annual catalogue, there's the holiday mini catalogue, which is available until June. And then for every $90 within Australia that you purchase, you can gain some free items. So every $90 you can have one of these free items. There is a couple that is worth $180, but you can see that when I send you the catalogue if you're interested, or you can check it out online. Thank you for watching. Thanks for being patient, considering I've been a bit AWOL, but I'm thinking I'm going to stick to Friday nights because it seems to be Thursday I get home from uni and I want to jump into my homework and get that done. And then Friday I'm a bit more free and I can prepare for tonight, or I can do that during the week, of course, as well. So thank you for watching. If you've got any questions, leave it here and I'll answer them. Please share if you're able to, and I look forward to talking to you during the week and seeing you next Friday. Thanks again. Bye.